Well, good to see you. I'm working out. I've known you 40 years. I've been pursuing you for about 30 of those years to come on my show, and you've never done it until now.
I know, but I didn't know it was the Labour Party conference. I mean, and I was absolutely fooled. I thought old Rick here was from Eton, and this one was from... Okay.
I first saw you in a movie. I tell you what the movie was. It was about 50 years ago, called Hell Drivers. Eh?
Yes, and what else?
No, Stanley Baker, Patrick McGowan, and Peggy Cummins.
Okay.
There you are. I can remember all those years ago. But I mean, that's the point. I mean, who'd have thought? Well, did you think when you were making that movie that, 50 years on, at the age of 73, you'd still be you are this huge star?
Well, to be honest, I never thought I would reach 73. And we talk about this, my wife and I, and we both mutually agree that we're not really in our 70s. We're closer to 3. No, it's true, because it's difficult to... I hear, and she says, things come out in the papers and people talk about this and elderly and what have you, and they're in their 60s.
Yeah.
Well, where does it put us? Well, I suppose it's in the mind.
I think that's very much so. And in being active and in keeping working too, which is very important.
Oh, yes, it's nice, the money.
I mean... The other thing too, I mean, you reached the age of 73 without losing it, in the sense that, you'd be voted the sexiest man of the century, for God's sake.
Well, they have great taste.
Listen,
I don't take that seriously.
Well, it's very rare, actually, Sean. You have a show where all 4 of us are sex symbols. What did you say?
I'm not making I'm not making it at Eton.
Right, listen, I mean, there you are. I mean, your latest film, again, is an action movie. I mean, it's, you don't just continue career, you continue playing action heroes. You obviously like that genre of movie.
Yeah, yes. Well, it's kind of interesting that I don't have a problem in going into any kind of clothes or no clothes for films. In terms of being concerned about period films or whatever. And I think that if you have that attitude, it's much easier to make the transition, whether it's period or whatever. Some actors, I think, have impose a self-limitation by being uncomfortable in a toga or monk's habit or whatever. And I think that you have to make the leap. You have to make of yourself to do it. And that's the most important stage to learn as an actor.
Is it?
Yes, to make an absolute of yourself. All up of yourself. I know you're censored here.
Not at all, we're not. You're free, you go for it, Sean. There's no problem at all here.
All right, well, being a
The one word
you won't allow
you.
You asked for it.
And I got it. Okay. So, the film is called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes.
And it's based on what they call those picture books, isn't it? Those,
yeah, what we used to call comic books, like the Dandy and the Beano,
Yeah.
but they're quite different now.
Yeah, they
they're
are.
much more upmarket, and in fact, they do better deals than Ulysses, Joyce, and what have you, because it's wonderful quality, the same as if you're making a movie, where they do these preparations. The photography on it, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're very expensive, but it's good quality stuff.
When you were a child in Edinburgh, was the cinema a formative part of your
Oh, yeah, yeah, without question. And they used to see main feature, second feature, the trailer, the news, and you could spend a week there. You see, you got the pictures, you get rid of it, and you'd come back 4 hours later. Parents didn't seem to worry, actually, then. Maybe they were hoping.
It's a different society. You were safer then, that's for sure. Although maybe where you lived, you weren't so safe. I mean, it was a fairly rough area, wasn't it? You lived in a tenement?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's very difficult to equate with anywhere else if you have nothing to compare it with.
Sure.
And people who talk about hardships and, you know, all joking aside about Eton and Rick's situation at Liverpool, that you don't know anything else. So what do you compare it with?
Sure.
And so you get on with it. It's only when you get outside, and really that's what makes the world go round. It's the people that go outside, but not enough of them come back and try to change what's wrong inside.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you do that?
Yes, I do it all my life. I've done it.
In what sense?
Well, I believe that the identity and everything to do with the Scottish psyche, health, future and everything is based on independence. And so I've been an investor in that with myself, financially, emotionally, and I've taken a lot of batterings for it, but I believe it's worth it.
But you see, reading about you, it seems to me that you always had an urge to better yourself in that sense. I mean, you started work at 9 with a milk round.
It's a part of the environment and what have you that you're in. And you have a drive to get and do something better. When you go outside, you see the prejudices.
But did you ever imagine, I mean, let's talk about two things. The one thing that really interests me about you is the way that Ricky was talking about self-education, and you actually decided to educate yourself, didn't you? Because you didn't go to school, there wasn't a school at one point, the schools were closed.
That's right.
Right? So you had little or no formal education at all. At what point do you decide that this is the way out, that education is the way, and I'm going to educate myself?
Well, I left school at 13, so the war changed everything because it was just straightforward economics. You had to do what you could do, and so I drove a horse and cart and made some money. I couldn't wait to go to the war. That's how smart I was. Right? And then I did go and had no real future in it. Came back. I was on tour in South Pacific, and I didn't know really what I wanted to do, but I was having a great time traveling on a motorbike all over the UK in a theatre show.
Yes.
And an American, Robert Henderson, was in the play. Suddenly he said, "Why don't you want to be an actor?" And I said, "Well, me an actor to do what?" He said, "I see you, you do what you do and everything." I was doing handsprings and all the butch bull, you know, on the stage, with nothing like a dame and everything. And suddenly I said, "Well, what would I have to do?" He said, "Well, first of all, you're totally illiterate, so it's necessary that you would have to work on your voice. You'd have to learn to speak, and you would have to give yourself an education," which I'd never had. So he gave me 10 titles covering from all Shaw, all Shakespeare, An Actor Prepares, Jean Christophe, My Life in Art, Remembrance of Things Past. I read them all. I went to the libraries in every town up and down Britain, and I extended my time on tour to complete it. And at the end of the day, I came back to London with a bicycle and about 90 quid in the bank, no phone at home, no check in the post, and became an actor.
How do you, he said, alter your voice, change your voice. How did you do that?
No, I had to, I was talking like that. I don't understand anything I was talking about. It was like that. You hear the news, you hear the Scottish games. It's like But Eric Sykes told me a marvelous story when he was in the army. He said he was going to Dunkirk or somewhere. He said there was a group of guys and they were all talking and he was sure they were Polish. And there were Scottish guys going over, you know. Anyway, so I had to change that. But I could never want to lose the sound, the music of what Scottish speaking is.
And you've, of course, what you've never done in movies is change your voice, isn't it?
That's right.
You've absolutely, in every part you
Because
play.
the emotion should be the same internationally. That's what I believe.
Right.
A Russian is the same as a Scottish, the same as an Irish, or a Pole, even English. I waited 40 years to talk to him. Well, let me tell you something.
What?
He will not remember
What?
where we met.
We met first of all, I think, on a golf course, but then we met at
No,
Leeds
no,
when Leeds played Celtic. Yes?
You're getting closer.
And we had a bet on a result of a match, and you kept sending me letters saying, you owe me now £10 plus 4% compound interest. Right? And these letters followed me all around like a bailiff. And in the end, you shamed me into writing to you and sending a cheque, I think. Is that right?
Well, it's a very... Okay, that's your story. Let me tell you the real story. Story is we're in a house of Marshall Bellow.
No, yes, right.
Ian Brill.
Yeah.
The whole crowd of us were all soccer fiends and golf fiends. He didn't play golf then. And we had a discussion about Tommy Docherty and Dave Sexton. And you were telling me how useless Docherty was and how wonderful Sexton was. And the bet was not on Celtic and Leeds, but on, I said, Docherty, who was then manager of Manchester United, would finish higher in the league than anybody else. And I said, you can take the rest. And he said, no, I'll take Sexton, who I think was with Chelsea or Queen's Park Rangers. And I never got a cheque. I never got a penny. So I decided, after a period of time, and I met Mary, his wife, in Marbella.
That's disgraceful.
And he was writing, he didn't play golf, and he wrote about something and said that his wife had said I had wonderful legs. Which is true. Well, was it? Anyway, I wrote him a letter, not lots of letters. I wouldn't waste the stamps on that. I sent him a letter saying that I've been waiting for a reply. My money, plus interest, and if I don't get satisfaction, I'm going to show Mary the rest.
I've completely forgotten that, Sean.
Have you paid that? Have you got that?
He paid me. He paid me at a golf tournament, which he decried as being an old man's game. And now he's a better golfer than me.
No, nonsense.
Yes, he is.
No, I don't have... No.
Okay, I'm
not,
sorry.
I'm not as competitive as you are. Now, just a couple of questions, because I did want to ask you about the effect that Bond had on your life. It should have changed your career, didn't it? Totally, James Bond.
Oh, that vodka's strong. Yes, it did. Yes, it did, enormously. I would never have recognized it at the time, and anybody who was really honest, and that's including United Artists, Saltzman, Broccoli, and all the rest of them, none of them anticipated the success it was going to be.
And Fleming didn't want you, did he?
No, of course not. He went to Eton.
That's right. And you're playing an Etonian.
So did Bond.
And he was
so did Bond.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, of course, he wrote it.
Yeah.
I have no respect. You're a wonderful editor.
Thank you.
I hope you're going to be the chief of the party.
I mean, what that gave you, actually, was the Bond thing, was that gave you that wonderful thing, independence. Because, I mean, my view of you is that you've actually made the industry work for you, basically, rather than you work for the industry, which is that you have that kind of independence. And allow you to make some very good films. I mean, one of my favourite films of yours is The Hill, which I think is a magnificent movie. And I love, of course, the Kane movie that you made.
Man Who Would Be King. Yeah, well, that's... I think what's interesting about the movie, that it was a great pleasure to do it. And that doesn't happen a lot on movies.
Well, he supported that when I talked to him, and also said that you were his dancing partner at one point. You had a dance.
No, I didn't dance with him. I danced with his driver.
Ah.
The driver was prettier than he. We were in Morocco, so it was, you know.
It was all right.
Yeah.
Everything was all right.
It would have been okay at the Eton Ball.
Yeah, I knew you were going to... I knew that was coming. I knew that.
Listen,
I knew that was coming.
Boris, please.
Yeah.
Take it in the spirit it's meant.
So, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, so this is your 80th film, or going on that way toward 80 movies now? And I guess...
I have no idea. I'm sure it must be.
Yeah, somebody counted. And more to come.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I haven't done a film since this League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I'm reading stuff at the moment, and who knows which way the wind blows.
Sean Connery, thank you very much indeed.
Oh, thank you.
My thanks to Sean Connery, Boris Johnson.